Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Stokastic.com MLB Strategy Show. I decided to forego the intro screen because that's what was freezing this out. I don't know why. StreamYard sucks. But that's unimportant. Can we start this show off? S&P. I saw your comment, brother, saying Chase Dollander living up to the hype and then some. Hold on a second. Can we please, for a brief moment, take a second to observe how shitty this Rangers team really is? Look, Chase Dollander, fine performance. Perfectly fine. Okay, he gave up, what, 1-2-run shot, and aside from that, he was great. Maybe it's the fact that I had like 50% Rangers stacks yesterday and nailed pitching across the board. But that Rangers team is an outright embarrassment. Ugh, what a joke. I mean, I'm coming into those games going, things are looking pretty good. I got a lot of PIR, right? A lot of player innings remaining in these lineups. End up getting my ass kicked at the end of the day because the Rangers are terrible. But anyway, I woke up feeling okay today. You have to. You get a morning workout in. Get some protein, some eggs, some leftover steak from Sunday. And we move on because we got a 10-gamer today and it looks pretty good. So does pitching for whatever that's worth. But if you guys don't mind, take a single second. Sotex, Obi-Wan, Andy, the DGen Stoner, all you guys, Cujo, take a second, atone for your sins, hit that thumbs up. Make it the first thing you do if you don't mind. Takes 2 single seconds. Goes a long way for me here. Otherwise, I promise I wouldn't even bother asking you. And subscribe to the channel. It's all free to do so, by the way. And if you hate it, we'll refund your misery. All you got to do, click unsubscribe. You never have to see me or hear from me again. But appreciate you guys in advance for doing that. And leave a comment down below if you're listening or watching after the fact. Sotex, Josh says hi. Hey, Josh. I was already talking to Josh this morning. But yeah. Yeah, thank you, Obi-Wan. Clintwood, all the Texas slander. Seriously, they deserve it. I'm not saying that Dollander should be as bad on the road as he is at Coors Field. All right. But I mean, come on. Just a disgrace, a disaster, unmitigated. But whatever. Let's put the past behind us where it belongs. Yankees end up putting up a lot of runs at T-Mobile. Few of these other spots. Oh, I had over on Grant Holmes' 4.5 strikeouts too. Yeah, you guys have to listen to me for a second. He had 3 strikeouts through 2 innings. Son of a bitch finishes with 4. So I'm a little salty this morning. Yeah, Einstein, I'm not saying he doesn't have talent. I'm saying the Texas Rangers have no talent. That's all I'm saying. Muhammad had a good amount of Dollander. Nice. I had 5%. Not enough. But it actually wouldn't have mattered. Pitching wasn't the problem for me at all. At all. You know, had a lot of homes. King still had 8 strikeouts despite giving up a few runs. Molly was fine. Colin Rea finished with, 18 or so? Might have even been more with the win. Point is, pitching wasn't the issue. It was so many teams. I'm sure you guys realize this. How many teams were just blanked? You know who I didn't have enough of? I didn't have enough of Kansas City. Kansas City had some big-time performances yesterday. I think they only finished with 7 runs, but still, those were like 7 impactful runs. A lot of times you'll see these teams and be like, wow, they have 8 runs. And then you realize one guy batting out of the 9th hole homered and had 4 RBIs and everybody else just had 2 walks and a single. You're like, well, that stack wasn't really impactful. Sometimes like 6 or 7 runs from a team can be more impactful than 12 runs from an individual team, depending on how it was done. But yeah, let's do it. We got 10 games today. It's a Tuesday, obviously a big slate. Yes, Sotex, pitchers are going to be looking to Texas to lower their ERAs, but I'll say this much. I don't know how much Kyle Freeland I'm going to have today. I've been mentioning this guy for a while now and saying, you know, we have to wait for the right time. We got to wait for the right time. Jack Leiter's got the Rockies today. Jack Leiter has not been particularly good, but Jack Leiter has the Rockies today in Texas, and DraftKings did not price him up. He is $7,300. So what do? I'm sure some people will say, look, are 7,000 flat. I'm sorry. Ben Brown, 75. Jeffrey Springs against the Dodgers is 73. I'm sure plenty of you will look to fade Jack Leiter. And you know what? I don't think I blame you. I don't think I'm going to do it, though. I think Jack Leiter is going to be in my rotation today quite heavily. It's scary. Very scary. But I told you guys, and no, I did not do any look-aheads here when we talked about it last week and the week before when I said, you know what? His time will come. I didn't do any look-aheads. I didn't know that he had the Rockies, who are on pace for a historically bad season. None of that. I just said his time will come. And if today isn't that time, guess what? Well, that time might never come, at least not this season. So yeah, I'll be throwing quite a few darts at our friend Jack Leiter today, former #1 overall pick. His last 3 starts have stunk. In San Francisco, at home against Seattle, in Boston, no good. His first 2 starts before that injury, quite nice. Can we get him on back on track today? I'm willing to find out. Does that mean yes? No. It means I'm willing to find out. And you best believe I will. He's 7K against the Rockies. They have a 3.7 run implied total. They're a terrible offense. I mean, this team is, dare I say, unimaginably bad. Let's see how they've done away from Coors, because they've already been terrible at Coors. Let's just, I'm just curious now. Oh, okay. 28% strikeout rate on the road, 6.7% walk rate. That's good. The only team, believe it or not, worse than that is the Texas Rangers. God, they stink. What's their WRC plus? Any guesses? 65, 70? That'd be bad. Oh, I'm sorry. It's 50. That's so bad, dude. God, they're terrible. A 50 WRC plus. A 243 WOBA. That's 30 points worse than the next team. Holy shit. 097 ISO. This team is just so bad. They're so bad. Even look at like stolen bases, 5. The crazy thing about this team is there's not a single redeeming quality throughout every single player on their active roster. As I said, unimaginably bad. So yeah, Jack Leiter it is. I don't see how I get away from him. And another guy, someone mentioned him earlier, Ben Brown. Ben Brown's got to be in the rotation as well against Miami. You know, also a pretty terrible baseball team. And Ben Brown, while he may not excite you, he's good enough. If you rostered Ben Brown last time out, and I know if you were watching this show, the Sims led us to a lot of Ben Brown last time. You would have been pretty satisfied with each of his last 2 starts against Milwaukee and Seattle at his price point. Now you've got Miami. His price has not moved. He's been 7,500. This is actually wild. His price point since the start of the season, 7,500 per start, by start, 73, 75, 76, 75, 75, 75, 75. That's Ben Brown. He hasn't moved. And outside of one bad performance against the Phillies over his last 5, he's been good. Arguably the most underpriced pitcher on this slate. I think you can make a good argument for that. The guy's got a 26% K rate. He's not allowing any power. I don't really see anything that would suggest Ben Brown shouldn't be one of our most rostered players on the slate, even though he's negatively leveraged. because he's getting ownership. The ownership would really be the only thing to pull me away from a guy like Ben Brown. And I still don't know if that's enough. I really don't think it's enough. The only issue is that maybe you get a little bit of weather here, but we'll know later in the day. You have winds blowing in 6 miles per hour, 57 degrees. It's good pitching weather for sure. Those two 7K guys, Ben Brown and Jack Leiter, just look really good today. Now, of course, there's some good pay-up options as well. And as always, if you guys have any thoughts, any pitchers you want to take a look at, have us dig into a little bit, let me know. And we'll do it. S&P, my only anti-Leiter take is the 8K range is loaded with actual talent behind talented pitchers. Also underpriced pitchers, Cease, Schwellenbach, Valdez in particular. Sure. I don't know if Valdez is actually underpriced, to be completely honest with you. But you guys know I have a thing against that guy. Like, I think Valdez is good, but I don't think he's underpriced because he's one of the most, like, he's totally unpredictable, right? And I'm not just saying that as a lazy take. Valdez has always been like that. He'll go out there and he'll throw an absolute gem, and you're like, damn, this dude's one of the better pitchers in baseball. And then he won't get out of the 5th inning. So it's tough because he's also like, there's also times where he's just not getting any swing and miss stuff. I think 8,500 against Kansas City is a pretty reasonable price for a team that doesn't strike out a lot either. That isn't to say I don't think he's a good play today, because I do. I think Framber Valdez is perfectly good, perfectly fine. But I don't think this is a team or a spot that jumps off the page to me. Kansas City bottom 10 in strikeout rate. They have been bad against lefties, though. There's no denying that. Like, they've been trash against lefties. So it's a good matchup. Maybe you say he should be 9K. But if Tyler Molly's 9,200 against the Rockies, and I'm willing to play him, I have to be willing to play Jack Leiter. This isn't to say you get 100% Leiter. Shit, even 50%, right? But, like, if you're getting, say, 25% Jack Leiter at 7K, I'm not going to fight it. And maybe he implodes again. Totally possible. The guy I'd want to get more of is Max Fried, but 10.5, that's a tough price point. Against a good, healthy amount of righties. It's a good park, but man, he's so expensive. Look at all of these other guys in the range. So you have below him. You have Max Fried at 10.5. You have Chris Bubich against Houston. Again, another good pitcher. If he were cheaper, I think I'd love to get, a little bit of exposure there, but he's 9,700 against Houston. Kodai Senga against Pittsburgh. The strikeout stuff hasn't been there for him, but aside from that, he's been dominant. And he's really been able to mask a lot of that with the ability to just limit runs and totally limit base runners. Then you have Brian Wu against the Yankees. How about the fact that he's getting 16%? That's how good he's been. Against the Yankees, great park, best pitcher park in baseball, unless it was yesterday. Robbie Ray, to me, that's just a fade against Arizona, even in a good park. I don't intend on getting a lot of him, or at least I don't think I will. Brandon Pfaadt. And then here you go in this 8K range S&P that you were referring to. Framber Valdez against the KC team that's really struggled against lefties. Dylan Cease against the Angels, who are just like an instant strikeout at this point, right? We saw King falter a bit, but still 8 strikeouts, 7 through his first 4 innings. Schwellenbach has also gone up against a pretty rough Washington team. And then Ben Brown at 7,500. I don't know what's going on with Shane Baz. I don't know if there's an injury here that we're going to figure out later down the road. But, this guy was spectacular through the first month of the season. And the last 2 games, he has really, really struggled. And it hasn't just been that he struggled because he's giving up runs, but he's not missing the same amount of bats. I don't think Shane Baz is probably somebody that we look to get to when this is a truly loaded pitching slate, maybe the most we've had in the past couple of weeks. Because I'm not sure what DraftKings was thinking with some of the pricing here. Even lighter. Lighter should probably be like at least 7,700. Ben Brown should easily be above 8K against Miami. But they're not. So I agree, S&P, that you have some of these guys who are underpriced, but I'd argue that almost everybody outside of like Max Fried and maybe Brian Wu is underpriced. Yeah, this swinging strike rate on Baz recently is rough. 5 and 8 over his last 2 games. I don't know. Make of that as you will. Let's take a look at our exposures. I favored 150 lineups. Here you go. Cease, Brown, Leiter, and Senga are 4 most exposed pitchers right now, followed by Spencer Schwellenbach and Brian Wu at 11 and 10% respectively. Then it falls off a cliff. Not a lot of Valdez, surprisingly. That's the one spot that does surprise me a bit. Landon Knack against Athletics, no. Robbie Ray, no. Brandon Pfaadt, Max Fried, no. Mitch Keller, no. It's really those, we'll say 6 guys north of 10%. JB Yankees 27. I'm not taking Wu against my hot Yankees. That's a winning formula long term. I mean, it is in your name. So I don't know. But he's a good pitcher. I don't love him today, but I'm not going to fade him. I'm not going to tamp down exposure and set his exposure cap at 0 either. Dylan Cease is 8,300. It's just a wild price point on Dylan Cease. He's another guy that's kind of been all over the map. Really hasn't been good this year. But how do we really care, honestly? Do we care that Dylan Cease hasn't been great? He's got a 27% K rate. Every single year, this guy's flirting with 30% strikeouts. And he's going up against an Angel team that strikes out more against right-handed pitching than any team in the league. And these pitchers, oddly, have performed much better for the Padres pitchers at home. Similar to the Mariners. Maybe not as extreme, but it's definitely there. It's just pretty obvious, though. Like Ben Brown with a 26% K rate, Dylan Cease at 27%. Why would you not pay $7,500 and $8,300 for them, respectively, when you have 2 of the best matchups in the league, right? I get they're going to be chalky, but again, like I said yesterday with guys like King and a few others, I don't really care. Both teams top 5 in K rate versus righties. Neither team impressed. Look, both teams bottom 7 in WRC plus. They're just not good baseball teams. These guys are underpriced. They're too cheap. And then, as we said with Jack Leiter, this is purely a matchup play. There's really nothing else that goes into it with Jack Leiter because he hasn't proven to us, particularly since returning from that injury, that he's capable of going out and throwing a gem. But at 7,000, you don't need him to throw a gem. You just need him not to be terrible. Kodai Senga's the interesting one. $9,500. On the season, he has a 23% K rate, so perfectly fine. But you'd have thought it'd be better with all of the other metrics on this guy. He's just so good. And if you're dealing with that price point, you at least want a good matchup. And this is undoubtedly a good one. Pittsburgh's one of the worst teams in baseball. So yeah, I'm not gonna tinker with this too much if we're being honest. I think those are the best spots that we want to get to. Cease, Brown, Leiter, and Senga. And then behind them, Spencer Schwellenbach against Washington, Brian Wu against the Yankees. I get that matchup's a little scary. Brian Woo's been damn good, though. Really good. You look at the XFIP or the Sierra, whatever you want on this slate where you've got all these pitchers. Schwellenbach is one of the best, and so is Brian Wu. Because Gray isn't on this slate. Luzardo isn't on this slate. We're not playing Michael Soroka. Yeah, it's pretty easy. Where's the home runs per 9 at on these guys? Anybody just getting destroyed? Jose Barrios, 1.54. Springs, 1.37. Either way, I think it makes sense. Now, if we're looking at some of these cheap pitchers, are you guys trying to go cheap here? Einsteinium, that's an interesting take. Barrios over Brown. Well, if you're doing that, you're going to get much lower ownership. You're going to have massive leverage there. I don't know if it's the leverage you want. He is coming off of that, 9K game against, guess who? The Angels. He's been good. It's actually shocking to see that Jose Barrios' strikeout stuff has been as good as it has lately, because this has never been a guy that's got electric strikeout stuff. But I did notice that too, Einstein. In the last couple of games for him, missing a ton of bats. I wonder if he's doing anything differently. Let's see. Now I'm curious. I mean, the Angels will make anybody look like an elite pitcher. Oh, is this one of the... This is what happens when you use a site that's from the 1800s. We get Wilbur Berry. I'm not even going to deal with this. I mean, I could go to Baseball Savant, but forget it. I'm not going to waste my time. Either way, Barrios has been good lately, for sure. Where's the plate discipline? There we go. 19% swinging strike rate last game. A lot of that, honestly, I would just attribute to the Angels, unless you guys have more details. And if you do, please share them. S&P, I think you have to at least consider a 5K Freeland out of Coors against this chase happy Rangers lineup. You're not insane for saying that, honestly. It's not the craziest idea. I thought about it as well. The question just becomes like, do I need to? Do I need to go to Freeland here? But the Rangers have been terrible against lefties. Really terrible. I think it's fair to say they're just a bad baseball team right now. You're like you said, they're chase heavy. They're not a good baseball team right now. They're towards the bottom of the league, really, in every metric against lefties. Nothing about them scares me. And Freeland outside of Coors, yeah, he's not the worst pitcher in the world. Again, though, the question becomes like, do you need that salary relief? And I'm not sure you do. Because what's a good game from Kyle Freeland? It's a guy like here's what we could do. If we went and looked at Kyle Freeland's K rate for his career away from home, what is it? Still sub 20%? I'm just guessing here. It can't be anything significant. 17% career K rate away from home. It's actually the same. It's almost identical to home. So there's just, I don't really get excited about something like that. And I'm not saying you're jumping for joy at the prospect of playing a 5K Kyle Freeland, but he's played in Colorado his whole life. He's got a 17% K rate away from home for his career. Steven Freeland could unlock the Dodgers, sure. But I don't, let's see our stack exposure, because I don't know if you need it to unlock the Dodgers. We're already playing a 7,500 and a 7K guy. Dylan Cease is 8,300. So let's just say we have ample combos of Dylan Cease and Jack Leiter. That's only $15,000 in pitching. It's really not that much. You're not paying a premium there. Like a lot of Atlanta here. 5-man Atlanta stacks. Houston's not particularly cheap. You've got these Houston stacks. Yeah, I guess if you wanted to unlock the Dodgers, maybe you'd have to go to Freeland, or you'd have to go to, like, if you go a 4-man Dodgers, you go a 3-man secondary cheap stack. That's possible too. S&P said, I was tinkering, and if Chris Taylor's in the Dodgers lineup, you can play 2 8K pitchers and still get to the Dodgers pretty easily. So the utility of Freeland isn't really present on this slate, to be honest. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at, though. Like, do we actually need him? On some of these other slates where maybe you've got these sick 10K options that you want to get to, maybe that works. Devin Scott, I don't think you need to use him, but it just shows how bad Texas is outside of Langford. Yeah, and wasn't Langford the only, didn't he account for the only runs they had yesterday? Garcia's fallen off a cliff, right? A lot of these guys have just face planted. They're non-existent. But looking at exposures here to our stacks, see Texas again. Ugh. You know, I'm telling you guys right now, remember I say this. Remember I say this. It's just, you know, the baseball gods, whatever it may be. If we go ahead in the Sims and we decide that we want to limit exposure, we want to set an exposure cap to these Ranger stacks, you know what's going to happen, right? You know, I can't help but laugh at the idea of knowing exactly what's going to happen. If we go in and we limit exposure to the Rangers and say, you know what, I don't want more than 10% Rangers. I just can't do it. I can't do it. You know what's going to happen. And if we go ahead and just eat this ownership and let it sit where it is, you know what's going to happen. But at the end of the day, because we are getting a lot of Rangers right now, at the end of the day, this Rangers team still has a 5.3 run implied total. They still have the highest value score of any team on the slate. We're in a pickle. 5.3 run implied total is the second highest on the slate. For me to just look at this and immediately contradict everything we're getting in the Sims while simultaneously saying that I'm smarter than Vegas, right? I'm smarter than Vegas setting a number on this team would be ignorant. But boy, does that feel shitty, especially after last night. Dodgers have the highest top stack probability and the highest team total, and the Rangers are second. S&P, with how cheap, you bring up a lot of good points. I enjoy having you in chat, brother. With how, because we can diagnose this stuff. That's what I like doing in the morning. We don't need to set and forget lineups this early. That'd be dumb. What we want to do is figure out why we're getting what we are and see if it makes sense. S&P said, with how cheap pitching is, I am a little bit, here, let me pull it up for you. With how cheap pitching is, I'm a little bit surprised the Rangers are popping up that much, honestly. Yeah, well, my guess is that we're going to have, and I haven't looked yet, I haven't really dug into this. My guess is that we're going to have a decent amount of more expensive bats as in like 5-3s or 5-2s. We already have a little bit of Brian Wu. We have Dylan Cease is not expensive, but he's not cheap. Let's see. Let's see. Go to lineups and go to our Texas stacks, right? Here's the cool thing about the Sims. If we go in the stack type here, right, or stack, what we can do is we can isolate, so filter and then do Texas. And we can isolate all of our Texas stacks and see what they look like. So 5-3 Texas San Diego. Where's the value on this San Diego team? Look, lowest value score on the slate. So super expensive team in San Diego. And you're getting the Bogarts, Tatis, and Machado here. Atlanta, Texas. Let me see if we can find the 5-man Texas. Kodai Senga, so there's a more expensive pitcher, 9,500 with Ben Brown. 4-3, Texas Chicago Cubs. That's 3 Cubs. Cubs are bottom 3 in value and second in top stack probability. So this is kind of affirming. This is kind of exactly what I expected. Texas Miami, but guess what? This is a Max Fried lineup. Texas Washington, Senga, and Ben Brown. 5-man Texas with Dylan Cease and Ben Brown, but then you have Lindor, Aaron Judge in that one, right? 5-man Texas with Brian Wu and Dylan Cease with Bobby Witt Jr. Yep. So I don't think that's actually all that crazy. It does make sense. It makes sense. That's why it's happening. So you're getting a discounted Ranger stack. And I tell you guys all the time, like if you're using these Sims, don't just look at what your exposure is. Do what S&P just did and ask yourself that question. You know what I mean? Like ask yourself that question. I'm surprised we're not getting more of this, or I'm surprised we're getting this when pitching isn't all that expensive. But I'll tell you one more thing. S&P, we said how cheap pitching is. I'm a little surprised the Rangers are popping up that much. You and I just ignored the most obvious thing of all that I mentioned a few minutes ago. Forget about pitching pricing. Forget about what our one-offs look like or the secondary stacks. The Rangers still have the second highest implied total on the slate. So if you don't think you're smarter than Vegas, right? And you want to be in this game playing DFS for the long haul, they have the second highest total on the slate. What are we supposed to do? Expect Vegas to lower this by a full run throughout the day? It's never going to happen. You know, I don't think that I don't think Freeland is terrible on the road, but you know, the numbers are the numbers. And if you're not going by the numbers, then it is what it is. You know what might happen? Maybe the Rangers total does get bet down a little bit, you know, and you're seeing it at like 4-9 as the day goes on. People don't buy it. That's possible too. And then you know what'll happen? We'll get less Rangers stacks because odds are all baked into this. Totally possible. I can pull all this up. Einsteinium, do you mind looking at individual bats for Texas? Who's bringing up their ownership? Yeah, great call. We'll do that in a second. Marvin, how are the Dodgers not coming up more often with all these cheap options? We'll get into that as well. Steven, I like the Cub stack today. Yeah, I have no problem with that. A little more affordable than the Dodgers. And Rich, Dave, can we stop pretending the Braves are a good play? No, we can't. I mean, you can. I wouldn't ask you to do anything you don't want to do, partner. But again, they have a 5.3 run implied total. And there is really nothing about Michael Soroka that should scare anybody at all. They're getting sub 6% stack ownership. So no, I think they are a good play. If you simply look at stacks by how the team is doing lately, you know, or even sometimes the matchup they have, it'll put you in a bad spot. We're talking about massive field contests here. Where if you're just doing what everybody else is doing, you're going to lose more often than you do. And when you win, you're going to be min cashing, right? Like who wants to try and win a tournament with the most popular full out chalk lineup with the highest ownership sum? And now you have to, you're playing the same thing as everyone else. And then your singular, like 1 or 2 offs need to hit. Otherwise it does nothing for you. What was I looking at? Implied totals for these teams. Do we even have it? Let's see. We have all these insane run lines and stuff. I thought we did. Maybe not. But what we can do is look up just the run total in this game. This odds tool, this live odds tool is free, by the way. I would highly suggest you use it because you can see how these lines move. You can see how somebody actually DM'd me yesterday. I'm not going to share the DM. I'm not going to put it up there, but he said, where is it? Oh, hey, just want to let you know I binked multiple tournaments this year from watching your show and using the tools to better my exposure to where the runs and strikeouts are going to be. Yeah, like all that stuff helps. And when you use this tool's free. It's on our betting side. It's not even on the DFS side. This can really help you figure some things out as well. So you can go into the data here on 8.5 runs and see if any of these books have moved off of it. Like let's look at sharp books like Pinnacle or Circa. 8.5. See, nothing really significant there on the under. Being able to pull up the implied total would be nice. I don't see it though. Anyway, you get my point. These teams both have high totals. Atlanta and Texas, we're talking about, they're both viable. I don't know how much Atlanta we're getting to right now. A lot. And again, that can change. But ownership and totals, Vegas, all that's going to play into it. All right, where was the question? Yeah, John Daly, got to have a short-term memory. Absolutely. Absolutely. Dwayne, so are you saying play the lesser-owned stacks for a better chance to win a tournament? Doesn't that go against the tools? No, it depends. See, that's the thing. The tools aren't just going to give you lesser-owned plays. Sometimes they'll give you the chalk, but you'll get different elsewhere. You can't look at, as our old friend Neil Orfield would say, you have to look at it, from a combinatorial standpoint, or whatever the fuck that word is. You got to look at the lineup as a whole, okay? I don't like using that word, particularly because I can't say it. Look at where the lineup is at a whole. If you're playing a chalky stack, but you're different at pitching, or if you're playing chalky pitching and you're different with the stack, or your 3 individual bats and 1 pitcher isn't high owned, it's not about singular ownership. That's why we have this tab here, ownership sum, right? If you look at the sum of the ownership and you tie it to the projections, that's how you're getting the simulated ROI here. It's so much more than just an individual player or an individual stack. So I hope that answers your question, right? Like the Dodgers right now, we're not getting a lot of them, even though in the top stacks tool, they have the highest top stack probability against Jeffrey Springs. They also are the most owned team by a mile. But at the same time, just because the Pirates are not owned doesn't mean that we're going to be getting a lot of Pirates with a 3.2 run implied total against Kodai Senga, or a ton of Seattle at 3% ownership against Max Fried. All right, Einsteinium, let's go ahead and do what you asked and take a look at these exposures to, you wanted Texas bats. And by the way, guys, anybody, you want to check these tools out, you want to get access to the sims, hit me up in the DMs, whether it's on X, my DMs are open, or even on Instagram, Laffy_D, LOUGHY_D. My handle's right there right next to my shirt. You can see it in that box. And If you DM me, I'll get you a code. I'll get you set up. All of you guys who have DM'd me already know it's a solid promo, man. Because I want everyone to try these tools. I want them to understand that DFS is different than it used to be. And these tools are going to help you immensely. Not only build better lineups and have a better chance of winning every single day, but to understand the game you're playing. If you don't understand the game you're playing and how you're building lineups, it's going to burn you so bad long term. And you're going to wonder why you have to keep going back to the drawing board. And it's very likely because the lineups you're building are not plus EV, right? These are not quality lineups you're building, even though you may think they are. And if you DM me, you'll also get the single lineup simulator where you can go in and build the lineup yourself, and it'll sim it against the field and give you instant feedback on that if you're a hand builder and you enjoy that stuff. Or even if you wanted to put your pitchers and your stack in, you can fill out the rest of, you can have us auto fill out the tools, auto fill out the rest of the lineup. Really cool stuff. So DM me. I'll get back to you right after the show's over, give you a promo, get you in the Discord, get you the top stacks, top pitchers tool, single lineup sim, this sim right here, the main sim, the crown jewel, ownership, player projections, you name it, across the board, every single MLB tool we have. Everything. And while we're at it, can we shout out the boys with some big golf tournaments coming up and the NBA playoffs in full swing? Can we shout out Just a Fan 824 Tehran with a 10K win, and our friend Ryan Schindler with a 50K win just over the weekend? Both of these guys, NBA and PGA. We had a 10K MLB last week. These tools are big time, man. And when they point out, hey, best tools and data in the game, thank you for the tools, it makes me feel a whole lot better talking about this stuff. So hit me up and shout those guys out as well. Those are awesome wins. Ryan said life-changing. When you see shit like that, it just makes you happy. Anyway, all right, let's get into it. But yeah, hit me up and I'll get back to you. Shoot you over a promo code. All right, so we wanted to see individual exposure for Texas, right? Let's go. All right. Berger at 2,800. Josh Jung at 2,800, and then 37% exposure. 35. Marcus Semien, 34. Wyatt Langford, 31. Jonah Heim, 28. Adolis Garcia, 21. I think that answers your question. It's all of them. Patrick, could you put the email on here? No, I said DM me, but yeah, I'll put that in here as well. There it is, right in the chat. What do you, Einsteinium? I wouldn't say it's only 2 or 3 back. I'd say it's 6. Look at all of them. All of them. You have 6 Texas bats north of 28%. It's crazy. Yeah, it's nuts. But just looking at stack exposure, let me clear these filters. Oh, okay, good. It's gone. Right now it is Texas and Atlanta. And you know what, John Daly, you're right. Sometimes, no, Brandon, that's exposure. That's not ownership. Sometimes they're not going to be more owned than that. We will, if the slate started right now, we would for sure be over the field on Texas. No doubt about it. But yeah, this could change. If I rerun the Sims 5 hours from now with updated projections and updated odds, it certainly could. Right now, yeah, it's a lot of Texas and Atlanta. Decent amount, by the way, of Chicago 3-mans, which I love. I love the fact that maybe we're not getting a lot of expensive Chicago 5-mans. 5% is not bad. But overall, if you took our 3, 4, and 5-man exposures, you're talking like 17% stack exposure to the Cubs. So I like that. And look, if you wanted to tamp down Texas a little bit, I don't think that's a problem. You don't want a third of your lineups. Actually, more than that if you consider exposure from 3 to 5-man. If you don't want all that, I get it. I might do it myself. But man, there's that voice in the back of my head saying, don't do it now. And then you know what'll happen. I'll just go all out on Texas again, and they'll have 2 runs. So what I'll have to do going forward is just continue stacking Texas every time I get them until it finally pays off. Because there becomes a point of no return, right? Betting too. Like certain players, I know I'm betting EV spots, or at least I think I am. And on the weirdest bounces or the weirdest, like I have the under on points and they launch one from the half court line at the end of the first half or at the end of the game in a meaningless spot. And again, they go over and I keep getting burned there. I'm going to keep going back to them until it hits. Rafael Devers, perfect example. Bet a homer every single day. And every time I didn't bet it, he'd homer. So now you just got to go back to Devers. Got to go back. And he paid off for us the other day. We hit it right on this show. Trying to see if there's any other spots we're not getting big exposure to. I mean, I think the one is the Dodgers, right? Yeah. S&P is kind of unnerving that the underlying numbers for Freeland and Soroka on a much smaller sample are solid. Yeah. Yeah, I guess. If that's the case, also, if you're, there's ways to hedge these things in the betting market too. Put a small play on like alt overs for Soroka or something. He's only pitched 10 innings this year. Last year, he pitched 79 innings and had, what, a 24% K rate? 4.95 xFIP, though. Who did he face this year? Cleveland and Toronto. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a true believer in Michael Soroka, for being honest here. We'll see. Plenty of different ways to go if you guys want on this slate. It's 10 games. Rip and sip in the martingale. Yeah, that's a little bit different though. But yeah. Looking at the pitching exposure, I feel more comfortable there than I do with the hitting exposure. But let me tell you something. The best part about these sims is learning to be, you ready? Here's some philosophical bullshit for you, but it's true. Getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. Anyone who uses these sims and is one with them, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You're nodding your head in agreement. You're saying he sounds like a moron saying it, but it actually makes sense. If you become comfortable with being uncomfortable, it's the same thing I talk about with our betting tools, where you are literally just betting what's on the screen, and betting them with volume. And you're doing it even if there's a part of you that says, how could he possibly go under on this slate? Once you become comfortable with being uncomfortable, then you start getting some really great lineups. And at the end of the day, sure, there's going to be times where you look at it and you go, I knew I shouldn't have played that much Texas. But shit, there's a lot of times where you go, man, these were some great lineups. And on my own, I never would have gotten to these stacks. I never would have gotten to that combination of pitchers. I do it all the time. NFL, dude, one of the things that the Sims got me doing and it's helped me a ton was I would be playing straight, like, all right, I'd be going there were times where I'd have like 2 receivers and a running back in the lineup without the quarterback, or just running back, receiver, no quarterback, and just getting super weird with combos. And when they work, nobody else has it. And that's what matters here, is that there's just going to be some super unique builds that we get that nobody else is going to have, And that's why I like looking through these lineups individually as well. But yeah, like I said, shoot me a DM, Laffy_D. Use these tools, win with these tools, build better lineups, become a lot sharper too, especially in low stakes stuff. Anyway, I think we hit it. We got MLB live before lock today. You got NBA live before lock today. We're still in full swing with sports, even though the NBA season's winding down and WNBA is coming up as well. Don't laugh. I absolutely crushed WNBA last year with betting with these tools. First week's always free if you haven't done it yet. Link in the description. I had a 12% ROI on WNBA props. I didn't watch a single game. Didn't watch a single game, and it starts later this week. So if you haven't done so yet, get your free week. Get your free week. Get in on MLB, NBA. Hit me up if you have questions. And stop waiting any longer if you've been on the fence, because these tools absolutely work. All of our tools work, man. I wouldn't talk about them. I'd sound like a shill otherwise, but since I use them myself, I feel pretty comfortable with it. But I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. We will see you back here tomorrow. Probably an early live before lock. So stick around. It'll probably be 11 to 12, but most of the lineups should be out anyway. So yeah, hit me up on Twitter if you haven't done so yet. Give me a follow. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe before you go. What do we got? Are we at least over 50 here? You guys do me dirty today. 44. Come on. On the way out the door, tap that thumbs up. Goes a long way. Yeah, Einsteinium, rainy as hell all day, and I think tomorrow too, but it is what it is. Have a great rest of the day, my friends. We will catch you back here tomorrow for the early slate. Bye-bye.